analysts congratulate Tariq Rahman. US President Donald Trump warns Iran of a very traumatic outcome without a nuclear deal. He expressed hope for progress in the next month following his White House meeting with Netanyahu. North Korea vows a terrible response to any further drone incursions from the south. Seoul denied official involvement in the January incident, attributing it to civilians. Officials announced the conclusion of the immigration enforcement operation in Minneapolis. A congressional hearing reviewed ICE's presence, while a judge ruled that detainees were denied access to lawyers. Obama says US is less safe after Trump reverses Obama-era ruling that greenhouse gases endanger public health. The White House called the reversal the largest deregulation in American history, saying it would make cars cheaper. US President Donald Trump says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu should receive a pardon for corruption charges, saying Israeli President Isaac Herzog should be ashamed of himself for not granting one. Russia fully blocks US messenger app WhatsApp, owned by Meta Platforms, for failing to comply with local law, suggesting Russians turn to a state-backed national messenger instead. NASA set to launch 4 astronauts to the International Space Station, replacing a crew that was evacuated early due to a medical issue. The pre-dawn launch was delayed by 2 days over adverse weather forecasts across the US East Coast. Alright viewers, our focus continues to stay on Bangladesh and the election results that have trickled in. Tariq Rahman's BNP is set to form the government in Bangladesh after securing a 2/3 majority in the recent election. Tariq Rahman promises significant reforms in several areas. He has pledged to empower women by providing free education up to post-graduation and introducing a family card for women. Rahman also promises tax exemptions for small industries and the establishment of a special welfare fund for Bangladeshi workers abroad. On the protection of minorities, Rahman vows to enact strict laws to safeguard the lives, property and places of worship of Hindus and other minorities. Rahman's campaign also focuses on administrative reforms, including strengthening the judiciary and improving election processes. Joining me now for this discussion is Prashanta Marshall, political commentator, joins us from Dhaka. Prashanta, very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Big victory and mandate for BNP and its allies. Big promises as well. How much do you expect the party to deliver and in how long?
Yes, it's a landslide victory for the welcoming victory from Mr. Tariq Rahman. His party especially. You know that the Tariq Rahman is a very long time gap, 15, more than 12 or 13 years. He is in London, but he is a comeback and very heroic moment, and just lead the in Bangladesh history. You know that there is a very 15 years. There is some rules from the Arab League, and also there is some moment here for Bangladesh, especially 2024. You know that. 2024, there is some moment from Gen Z revelation from in Bangladesh. So that's an overall situation, Mr. Tariq Rahman and the vote and Bangladesh election. So this is a very new challenges for Mr. Rahman, Tariq Rahman. You know that Tariq Rahman is a person who is a very crucial strong from the Mr. President Jir Rahman and also the Begum Khaleda Jia, who were the very historical parents from the Bangladesh contribution. So that is a very interesting for the part, and people there is some masses for the general people and for Bangladeshi people. So the people still love the party system here from here. People not from except the new one party, new Gen Z or something here. There's a lots of political party rising here from in Bangladesh several years. But the message is clear. The people are still love from who are the actually experimented it in Bangladesh history. Look like an Aum League and BNP. So this is very one kind of masses. The another, you see that there is a so hype. We see that in Facebook, social media, and other media. There is a Jamaat can be reform the government, but what I see the result is very devastating for the Jamaat. So so this is a very massive. If you talk about the social media, if you talk about the everything, but this is not a very good hype for your vote. Your vote is passed to the people, the rural people, the mass people. If you connect, if you do your organizations very strongly, and then you can the very good chance for your election. So this is very important because BMP know the how the voting is happening and how to make your vote in very proper way. So this is very important factor for the old party look like in the new party. And another important thing is the agenda. You can see the agenda and everything. What the Jamaat can declare. Jamaat can declare there is no women can be leader in their party. So this is people not take a very easy way. People
Yeah.
not take it. The mass people, women are not taking a very sophisticatedly because there is some the Jamaat they have in different segment they talk about them in the open page that is they have in belonging to the reforming the women, but in the reality in the some context they have not from the empowerment to the women in the present time the women get a very good buncher for the BMP, and that's why the BMP get a very landslide victory. And people, all the people tell me, especially the Janji revelation, the Janji can actually change the anything happening, but you see that the women can play cards on this election. So this is a very interesting factor from the Bangladesh actually election, and also you see that there is some challenges for the Mr. Rahman because you know that there is some one party is already from out of state from the in Bangladesh. So these very new challenges to actually you can just set off your law and order situation and everything dealing. So this is a very important issue. The another issue is you have to the relation between the India and Bangladesh. There is some we see that there is in last 2 years there is some very actually very close to relation from India and Bangladesh. So very new challenge, Mr. Rahman, how you can just in very in vassal, how you can have free access relation and bilateral relations. That is the one contribution. The third issue is economic activities. You know that the economy is a very and volatile situation in the present time. So the very crucial point, Mr. Rahman, to you can just focus on the economic activities. Either the Ramadan is set after just in your hand on 1 week. So you have a very strongly very targeting you set up to control you the necessity and law and order situation. So and also the important issue, the factor that is the humanitarian ground, the safety
Yeah.
for the minority issues and everything. So everything is a very challenges for Mr. Rama.
Right, okay. Stay on with me, Prashanta. Let's give our viewers some more details as far as the international reactions to Tariq Rahman's victory is concerned. Viewers, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and President Asif Ali Zardari have both congratulated Tariq Rahman and his Bangladesh Nationalist Party for their election win. Sharif praised the successful conduct of the elections and expressed his eagerness to work with the new leadership. President Zardari has also praised Bangladesh on carrying out peaceful polls. He also reaffirmed a strong support for democratic partnership. All right, I request Prashanta to join me back in the discussion here. Prashanta, reactions, of course, coming in from Pakistan, from the US. India also congratulated Tariq Rahman. But the case in point here is that Tariq Rahman, like you were saying, is a leader who was in exile for 17 years, returned only after his mother passed away, and has a lot of corruption cases on him. How do you think that is going to affect his leadership as the Prime Minister, if at all?
Actually, the two things important: how your relationship with India and how the relationship in Pakistan. If you balance situation or what the strategic foreign policy part of the year, it's a very crucial point because this is not from the actual bilateral solution. This is a very important for the South Asian politics also. There is a factor from the, the China. There is a factor from the US. So that you can calculate the everything relation, everything factor from international relation. You have to the mind out. And this very normal practice to Asif Ali Zardari and Indian Prime Minister, and although the US Prime Minister, they have a very normal gratitude relation with, from one country to another country. So very segmented relation. But you have it talkable, but you have an enforcement capability to in driving force. So very important how you can deal it with your neighboring. Because the neighboring is a fast you're in, and also you have to bear in mind that Bangladesh and India that share their border in the fifth largest border in the world. So this is very important issue, and we also having a border with the Myanmar. So how you can accumulate from Myanmar and Bangladesh, and also the neighboring countries in South Asian countries, especially Nepal, Bhutan, and Pakistan and Afghanistan. So this is a very factor. I think is something happening, something changed, something a very crucial, a very vibrant, and the people-oriented relationship in the Mr. Rahman do. And also the important factor, you can already tell me the corruption issues in the Mr. Rahman, how he can overcome it. It's a very serious issue, Mr. Tariq Rahman. There is some corruption here, but you have to mind in that there is a no, actually there is a no one is the alternative way in the lack of the party of the BMP. So this is a very important crucial point for the Mr. Rahman and other something here. And I think he can overcome in everything within a period, because he is in a long time he's in London, and he can know and he can pass away, and his party is a very much people oriented party. So everything he can know how to manage and how to do everything. I think it's a very not very very outreach task. It's a very easy task for Mr. Rahman, and he can do very in a very easy way in the near future.
All right, Prashanta, thanks for your comments and for joining us here at NewsX World. And viewers, we are now going to proceed. Now, US President Donald Trump will be unveiling a multi-billion-dollar reconstruction fund for Gaza and outline troop contributions to a UN-authorized stabilization force at the first formal meeting of his Board of Peace next week. The Washington, D.C. meeting will host delegations from at least 20 countries, including Middle Eastern powers like Turkey, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar, as well as emerging nations such as Indonesia. The board, endorsed by UN Security Council resolution, aims to administer Gaza's day-to-day affairs through the National Committee for the Administration of Gaza, taking over from Hamas. The stabilization force will focus on disarming Hamas fighters willing to commit to peaceful coexistence, offering amnesty and safe passage for those who choose to leave. US officials described contributions from the Board of Peace members as generous, with no explicit fundraising requests made. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed Israel's participation. The meeting will concentrate solely on Gaza, despite concerns about the board addressing other global conflicts in the future. Shruti Das Gupta, International Affairs Analyst from New Delhi, joins me in this conversation. Shruti, thanks very much for joining, and a very good morning to you. Let's first talk about the stabilization force that is a part of the peace plan for Gaza. Concerns are being raised from different countries. Do you think as many nations are willing to contribute their troops, soldiers on ground in Gaza as Trump would hope to?
Greetings, Preeti. I understand that there are nations who are very happy to have their people posted there, because that will mean an extra income coming into their particular armies. And here I reference Pakistan as an example. But there are others like Turkey, which have wanted to put force there, which have found deep rejection from the Israeli government and its people in their involvement, seeking their particular involvement here. And beyond that, there are other nations who are chary about putting their men, their people on ground, because there is as yet the conflict of Hamas that is not really over. They've not put down arms, they've not moved on. So that means you're putting your army into a conflict zone, which might have repercussions for you back home. If your army ends up fighting Hamas, then you become no better than the IDF that your people are protesting against. So it's a very big conundrum that a lot of nations are finding themselves in. Of course, the Board of Peace is a pay to play kind of a scenario where they will be paying these people, and handsomely so, but just then exactly who will they be fighting? Will they be securing the Palestinian interest, the Gazan interest? Will they be objecting to the IDF, which is as yet to back out from their zones because the Hamas have not disengaged? So there is a bigger question: who exactly will these people be fighting? How will they bring peace? There is also a bigger question when the Hamas announces at least 50% of the people that they have, that they will be providing to the death toll that has been spouted. They will be providing 50% of that particular number, a pension which they wanted to run under Palestinian agencies, and which has been critiqued very heavily internationally. So which shows that a large number of Gazans are very, very pro-Hamas. So will you end up fighting these very citizens when they take up arms against you, when you start to establish the peace that US wants and Israel wants, but Hamas doesn't? So there is a conversation that is happening all around the world where people want the pie, but they just don't know how to get it because it is going to be a very poisonous state as of now.
Shruti, thanks for your comments. I'm short on time, but stay on with me. Let's get your comment on another news update we're getting in. Viewers, US President Donald Trump has said that he was not aware of Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick's visit to the private island of convicted sex offender late Jeffrey Epstein. Trump told that he had not discussed the matter with Lutnick and added that he himself had never been there to Epstein's island. Listen in.
Secretary of Commerce visited Epstein's Island, and do you continue to have?
No, I wasn't aware of it. No, I didn't. I actually haven't spoken to him about it. I wasn't. But from what I hear, he was there with his wife and children. And I guess in some cases, some people were. I wasn't. I was never there. Somebody will someday say that. I was never there. Yeah, please.
This comes as Lutnick has confirmed visiting Epstein's Island in 2012, contradicting earlier claims that he had cut ties with Epstein years prior. Lutnick testified on Capitol Hill that he had lunch with Epstein during a family vacation, which was revealed through documents released by the Justice Department. Despite facing bipartisan calls for resignation, Lutnick denied any wrongdoing during his visit, stating he had minimal contact with Epstein over a 14-year period. Let's request Shruti to join us back in the discussion here. Shruti, it's not just Lutnick. Several people have been hobnobbing with Epstein. Many are saying they weren't even aware of the activities that went on in his island. We've seen pictures of Trump that are there. Trump is also saying, you know, I've never indulged in any wrongdoing. So it's difficult how the prosecution against these individuals can go on unless clear, unredacted evidence is produced.
You're right. Clear, unredacted evidence should be produced, but they cannot, just because they need to protect the victims of those very crimes. They'll face a lot of social scrutiny, questions from family members. They've moved on, some of them, and such a incident, which was probably a part of their horror, psychological horror story, and they have to revisit it publicly. That would make it very difficult. So an unredacted format is not going to be appreciated by the victims, even by the lawmakers of the country. And that exactly is what is providing protection to these people in the movers that are the movers and shakers in the powers of corridor. Now, beyond that, Lutnick question is really interesting because you see, he visited in 2012 when with his family. So his children were there, his girls were there, his wife were there, and they were visiting a convicted sex offender who was convicted not only for sex trafficking, but also indulging in prostitution of underage girls. So at that particular question, people should ask, morally, is Lutnick really has his moral compass pointing in the right direction? How do you take your family to visit and eat and dine with a man who may have power, who had connections? There is no doubt that he had connections all over the world, and there is not just one country where he had focus on. Everybody knew Epstein, and that is the unfortunate reality for the world to face. But he sat with his family down on a dinner across a table. His children were across the table from a child sex offender. So there is his moral question, which is why there has been calls for him to resign. And beyond that, even though he did not indulge in any wrongdoing, it may have been a social visit to kind of not distance a man who still held the strings of powers in many nations.
Yeah.
He did not confess completely when he was taking in his oath. These particular questions were asked to him when he was taking his post, and he lied his way through. So the wrongdoing may not just have been the meeting, but also how he tried to hide his particular association with Epstein after his conviction. So Lutnick is in hot water, and that is why Trump is saying, I didn't know about this, because now he will have to handle the Lutnick situation very delicately. You might see Lutnick bowing out, maybe not now, under some other pretext, maybe at a later stage in a few months from now, because that's how I've seen the Trump regime to function. If they do not like somebody, they'll not, and they are not good for the image of the president, they would phase them out rather than outright reject them and create a bigger schmozzle out of this entire situation. But Lutnick is definitely in hot water. Trump cannot convict him on this particular, cannot throw him out on this particular statement, because Trump himself is pretty guilty, has featured extensively in the Epstein files.
Yeah.
And it's him pointing a finger at another person being present is a joke on itself. A lot of victims are naming Trump and his involvement in the particular nexus that Epstein ran. Ghislaine Maxwell is, of course, been under Trump's very kind hand, been given a state holiday, almost state-sponsored holiday, into a lower security prison. So there is a lot of dirt, filth involved in the Epstein files, and unfortunately Lutnick's filth has come out in full force.
Shruti, we'll leave it at that. Thanks very much for joining us with your comments. And we now move on, viewers. The USS Gerald Ford aircraft carrier strike group is now set to sail from the Caribbean to the Middle East, joining the USS Abraham Lincoln. This move comes as US President Donald Trump looks to pressure Iran during ongoing diplomatic talks between Washington and Tehran. According to reports, the USS Gerald Ford will likely remain in the region until April or May, after receiving orders to extend its deployment. The increased US military presence in the area follows a rising tension with Iran. Retired Major General A.K. Sewach, a geostrategic expert from New Delhi, joins me in this conversation. General Sewach, thanks very much for joining me, and a very good morning to you. How are you viewing Trump moving more USS carriers now towards Iran, especially after he's issued the stark warning for it to come on a deal over the nuclear question, and is also going on to say that Iran will face traumatic consequences. But does Trump know, is he fully aware of the fact that Iran is not one to back down, will be striking its carriers, its aircraft with full might as well?
Very correct, Kirti. You see, 2-3 issues are there. There's no denying the fact the US is trying to put tremendous pressure on Iran, that whatever 3 demand which US has given, Iran should agree on that. One is that basically that Iran should not become a nuclear, and it should be checked by the IAEA. Second thing is also curbing their number of ballistic missile, as well as number as well as a range, because range is very important for Israel. If they are can strike on Israel, then that is not going to be a very positive factor for Israel. So they want it to come to 500 kilometers only. And the third thing is that the Iran stop helping these proxy like Hamas, Hezbollah, and Houthi. Now, as far as Iran is concerned, they are saying they are ready to discuss about the nuclear weapon, and their nuclear program is only for peaceful purpose. However, we are ready to discuss, and IAEA can come and check it. But they are not ready to discuss about the ballistic missile as well as helping these regional proxies. Now the question comes is, how do we resolve it? The US is trying to put pressure on Iran to take the warning of US seriously.
Yeah.
They already have USS Abraham Lincoln in Middle East. Now they have moved the largest aircraft carrier from Caribbean, that is USS Gerald Ford, which is the largest in the world today.
Yeah.
So therefore is a tremendous pressure which is being imposed on Iran. But US also knows that they will not like to use a military power. It is more of a posturing. Because in case the war take place, the Iran will also strike back. And
Yes.
Iran has got 2,500 to 3,000 ballistic missile and cruise missile.
Yeah.
It will hit all the bases of the Americans in Middle East as well as the Israel. And also it can sink some of the ships in Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier group, or in the Ford USS Ford, which is going to land there in another about a day or two. So
Yeah.
the point is, it's not going to be easy. It's not one sided. It's not Venezuela. Iran is Iran. So therefore, and it has been already given a lot of support by the Russians and Chinese. They have given the air defense system S-400. They have given the latest drones. They have given missile, and China is given them a real-time intelligence. So Iran is this time very well prepared. So Iran will
Alright.
strike and strike with a lot of might, and
Yes.
therefore the US has to think 10 times. And another thing which Iran can do, it can block the Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of the world oil goes. So the situation is very, very complicated, very complex. So whatever US is doing, to me, it looks like that it is more of a pressure tactics. It is posturing, put a pressure tremendous on Iran. The US and Israel mean business. If he does not submit to their demand, then US will strike back. I think
Alright.
it is more of a posturing than
General,
actually
we
doing
have
action.
a paucity of time, so do stay on with me as we proceed. Viewers, now Russia has confirmed a nationwide ban on WhatsApp, the hugely popular messaging app owned by Meta, after Moscow said the platform failed to comply with Russian laws and legal requirements. Authorities led by Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said WhatsApp's reluctance to meet domestic regulation, including data and content rules, justified the ban, and urged its roughly 100 million Russian users to switch to a state-backed alternative called Max. The ban was implemented by removing WhatsApp from Russia's national internet directory, making it virtually inaccessible without workarounds such as VPNs. Meta's other platforms, Facebook and Instagram, remain blocked and are designated extremist in the country. The Kremlin portrays the ban as enforcing legal norms and promoting a national messenger, while critics argue the move restricts secure encrypted communication and expands government control over the digital space. I request General Sivash to join me back in the discussion here with his comments. General Sivash, of course, Russia has provided a valid reason to block WhatsApp, but what led it to allow the messenger up until now?
You know why the Russia is doing what it is doing? It has already banned, you can say, other app also. WhatsApp is now, before that, Instagram, Facebook, and also it is putting restriction on Telegram. And whereas there are about 10 crore users in Russia. Why WhatsApp has been now banned? There are three reasons. One is that the US is basically trying to use of WhatsApp to get as much intelligence about Russia as much as possible. So as far as WhatsApp is concerned, it is not following the domestic rules of Russia, that the data storage will be only done in Russia, not abroad. So that is one point which is coming. The second thing what Russians want is that they have that Max app, which is an alternative to WhatsApp, which is locally produced in Russia. It is something like a chat app which is produced by the Chinese. They want that the normal citizens should use that Max app rather than WhatsApp, because the intelligence remains within the country. Now, third thing which is there is, of late they are finding it that there is some leakages which are taking place. Information is being passed. The spying is done by the Meta group. So therefore, all these factors are there, wherein Russia is trying to put pressure and trying to say that if you want to do business, then you have to follow the rule of the game,
All
and
right.
whatever are the domestic norms, you have to follow it. Let's see how things build up. But I suppose Russia is very clever in doing, two-pronged strategy. One is submit WhatsApp to follow the rules of what Russia says,
Yeah.
and second thing is promote their own regional Max app, which is an alternative to WhatsApp.
Right. General, thanks very much for your comments. It's a pleasure to have you. And viewers, moving ahead now, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney will attend a vigil in Tumbler Ridge today, where 9 people died in one of the country's worst mass shootings. The tragedy unfolded when 18-year-old Jesse Van Rutsela, who had mental health issues, killed her mother and stepbrother before shooting a teacher and 5 students. Van Rutselaar died by suicide. Flowers and stuffed animals now mark unofficial memorials across the town. Carney, who was invited by the town's mayor, has also urged other political leaders to join him. Meanwhile, Sarah Lampert, a mother of the victim, Tikaria Lampert, described her daughter as forever my baby, expressed the overwhelming pain her family is experiencing.
I'm not only here as a grieving mother, I am here being the voice of a beautiful, strong voice that was silenced. My daughter was a gift from the very start of her journey. She was always there to help. She was feisty. She could turn up the heat and to make a point, but always followed with her sunshine, her fundamental gift. She was born to love and to create peace and harmony. She is forever my baby, because that's what she was. She was a baby. She hadn't even seen her 13th birthday, which would have been in 2 months. One thing that I'd like to put out there is it has come to be known that I have a large family. I'm a single mom.
And on to some science news now, viewers. NASA is set to launch 4 astronauts to the International Space Station, replacing a crew that was evacuated early due to a medical issue. NASA is targeting a 4th day for the lift-off Cruise 12's mission aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, with a window opening at 4 p.m. IST. The pre-dawn launch was delayed by 2 days over adverse weather forecast across the U.S. East Coast, including high winds that could have complicated any potential emergency maneuvers. According to reports of today's morning launch goes as planned, the astronauts should arrive at the orbiting ISS by approximately 1:15 a.m. on February 14. And viewers, that's a wrap on this edition of the World Report on NewsX World. Thanks for staying tuned.